Om Shri Sai Ram. Welcome everyone to our Shri Sai Satcharitra reading. We will begin with our opening prayers. Bhuvassuvaः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Shri Sai. We now have Brother Srinivas continuing with the unit Captain Hathi.
Salam, everybody. Is my voice clear to everyone? If there is an issue hearing me, please raise your hands. Okay, everything is okay. Captain Hate. Captain Hate, who was staying in Bikaner, was a great devotee of Baba. Once Baba appeared to him in his dream and said, "Did you forget me?" Hate then immediately held Baba's feet and replied, "If a child forgets his mother, how could it be saved?" Then Hate went into the garden and took out a fresh Walpapri vegetable. And arranging Shida, which is ghee and wheat flour and dal, etc., and Dakshina, was about to offer all this to Baba when he was awakened and came to know that this whole thing was a dream. Then he decided to send all these things to Baba at Shirdi. When he came to Gwalior some days afterwards, he sent 12 rupees by money order to a friend with instructions that 2 rupees should be spent in buying the Shidha articles and Walpapri vegetables, and those should be offered to Baba with 10 rupees as Dakshina. The friend went to Shirdi and purchased the things mentioned, but Walpapadi was not available. In a short time, a woman turned up with a basket on her head, which curiously enough contained the vegetables. It was purchased, and then all the things were offered to Baba on behalf of Captain Hate. Mr. Nimonkar prepared the Naivedya, which is rice and Valpapdi vegetables, next day and offered the same to Baba. All the people were surprised to see that Baba, while dining, took and ate the Valpapdi and did not touch rice and other things. Hate's joy knew no bounds when he heard of this from his friend. Consecrated rupee. At another time, Captain Hate wished that he should have in his house a coin of rupee consecrated by Baba with his touch. He came across a friend who was bound for Shirdi. With him, Hate sent his rupee. The friend went to Shirdi and, after the usual salutation, gave first his dakshina, which Baba pocketed. Then he gave Hate's rupee, which Baba took in his hand and began to stare at it. He held it in front, tossed it up with his right thumb, and played with it. Then he said to the friend, "Return this to its owner with the prasad of Udi. Tell him that I want nothing from him. Ask him to live in peace and contentment." The friend returned to Gwalior, handed over the consecrated rupee to Hate, and told him all that happened at Shirdi. This time, Hate was much pleased and realized that Baba always encouraged good thoughts, and as he wished intently, Baba fulfilled the same accordingly. 4. Vaman Narvekar. Now let the readers hear a different story. A gentleman named Vaman Narvekar loved Baba very much. He once brought a rupee. On one said, obverse of it, were engraved the figures of Rama, Lakshman, and Sita, and on the other reverse side was engraved the figure of Maruti with folded hands. He offered it to Baba with the hope that he should consecrate it with his touch and return it to him with Udi. But Baba immediately pocketed it. Then Shama spoke to Baba. regarding Vaman Rao's intention and requested him to return it. Then Baba spoke in the presence of Vaman Rao as follows: Why should it be returned to him? We should keep it ourselves. If he gives 25 rupees for it, then it will be returned. Then, for the sake of that rupee, Vaman Rao collected 25 rupees and placed them before Baba. Then Baba said, the value of that rupee far exceeds 25 rupees. Shama, take this rupee. Let us have it in our store. Keep this in your shrine and worship it. No one had the courage to ask Baba why he followed this particular action. He only knows what is best and most suitable to each and all. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be to all. Moving on to chapter 30, Drawn to Shirdi. Kakaji Vaidya of Vani, Punjabi Ramlal of Bombay. In this chapter, the story of two more devotees that were drawn to Shirdi is narrated. Preliminary. Bow to the kind Sai who is abode of mercy and who is affectionate towards his devotees. By his mere darshan, he does away with their fear of this bhava, samsar, and destroys their calamities. He was first nirgun, formless, but on account of devotion of his bhaktas, he was obliged to take a form. To give liberation, self realization to the bhaktas is the mission of the saints, and for Sai, the chief of them, that mission is inevitable. Those who take refuge in his feet have all their sins destroyed, and their progress is certain. Remembering his feet, Brahmins from holy places come to him and read scriptures and chant the Gayatri mantra in his presence. We, who are weak and without any merits, do not know what bhakti is, but we know this much, that though all others may leave us, Sai won't forsake us. Those whom he favors get enormous strength, discrimination between the real and the unreal and the real, and knowledge. Sai knows fully the desire of his devotees and fulfills the same. Hence, they get what they want and are grateful. So, we invoke him and prostrate ourselves before him, forgetting all our faults. Let him free us from all anxieties. He who, being overcome with calamities, remembers and prays Sai thus will get his mind calmed and pacified through his grace. This Sai, the ocean of mercy, says Hemat Pant, favored him, and the result of this is the present work Sai Sacharita. Otherwise, what qualification had he, and who would undertake this enterprise? But as Sai took all the responsibility, Hemat Pant felt no burden nor any care about this. When the powerful light of knowledge was there to inspire his speech and pen, why should he entertain any doubt or feel any anxiety? Sai got the service in the form of this book done by him. This is due to the accumulation of his merits in the past births, and therefore he thinks himself fortunate and blessed. The following story is not a mere tale, but pure nectar. He who drinks it will realize Sai's greatness and all pervasiveness. Those who want to argue and criticize should not go in for for these stories. What is wanted here is not a discussion but unlimited love and devotion. Learned, devout, and faithful believers, or those who consider themselves as servants of the saints, will like and appreciate these stories. Others will take them to be fables. The fortunate bhaktas of Sai will find the Sai Leelas as Kalpataru, wish fulfilling tree. Drinking this nectar of Sai Leelas will give liberation to the ignorant jivas, satisfaction to the householders, and a sadhana to the aspirants. Now to the story of this chapter. Kakaji Vaidya. There lived in Vani, Nasik district, a man named Kakaji Vaidya. He was the priest of the god of the goodness Saptashringi there. He was so much overwhelmed with adverse circumstances and calamities that he lost peace of mind and became quite restless. Under these circumstances, One evening, he went into the temple of, I think it's goddess, I think temple of goddess, and prayed unto her from the bottom of his heart and invoked her aid to free him from anxiety. The goddess was pleased with his devotion, and the same night appeared to him in his dream and said to him, "You go to Baba, and then your mind will become calm and composed." Kakaji was anxious to know from her who that Baba was, but before he could get any explanation, he was awakened. Then he began to think as to who might be that Baba to whom the goddess has asked him to go. After some thinking, he resolved that this Baba might be Triambakeshwar, Lord Shiva. So he went to the holy place Triambak in the Nasik district and stayed there for 10 days. During this period, he bathed early in the morning, chanted the Rudra hymns, did the Abhishekam, Abhishekam meaning pouring unceasingly fresh cold water over the pindi, and did other religious rites. But with all that, he was as restless as before. Then he returned to his place and again invoked the goddess most pitifully. That night, she again appeared in his dream and said, "Why did you go to Triambakeshwar in vain? I mean by Baba, Sri Sai Samarth of Shirdi." The question before Kakaji now was how and when to go to Shirdi and how to see Baba. If anybody is in the real earnest to see a saint, not only the saint but God also fulfills this wish. In fact, the Sant, saint, and the Anant, God, are one and the same. There is not the least difference between them. If anybody thinks that he will go himself and see a saint, that will be a mere boast. Unless the saint wills it, who is able to go and see him? Even the leaf of the tree won't move without his bidding. The more anxious a bhakta is for a saint's visit, the more devout and faithful he is, the more speedily and effectively is his wish satisfied to his heart's content. He who invites anybody for a visit also arranges everything for his reception. And so it happened with Kakaji. Shama's vows. When Kakaji was thinking when Kakaji was thinking his visit to Shirdi, a guest came to him at his place to take him to Shirdi. He was no other than Shama, a very close and intimate devotee of Baba. How he came to Vani at this juncture, we shall just see. Shama was severely ill when he was very young, and his mother had taken a vow to her family goddess Saptashringi at Vani that if her son got well, she would bring and dedicate him at her feet. Then, after some years, the mother herself suffered much from ringworms on her breast. At that time, she again took another vow to her deity that if she got all right, she would offer her two silver breasts. These two vows remained unfulfilled. At her deathbed, she called her son Shama to her and drew his attention to the vows, and after taking a promise from him that he would fulfill them, she breathed her last. After some time, Shama quite forgot about these vows, and thus 30 years elapsed. About this time, a famous astrologer came to Shirdi and stayed there for a month. His predictions in the case of Sriman Bhuti and others came true, and everyone was satisfied. Everybody was satisfied. Shama's younger brother Bapaji consulted him and was told that his mother's vows, which his elder brother promised to fulfill at her deathbed, were not yet fulfilled. Hence, the goddess was displeased with them and bringing troubles on them. Bapaji told this to his brother Shama, who was then reminded of his unfulfilled vows. Thinking that any further delay would be dangerous, he called a goldsmith and got a pair of silver breasts prepared. Then he went into the masjid, prostrated himself before Baba, and placing before him the two silver breasts, requested him to accept them and free him from the vows he vows as he was to him his Saptashringi goddess. Then Baba insisted upon him to go himself to the temple of Saptashringi and offer them in person at the feet of the goddess. Then, after taking Baba's permission and Bodhi, he left for Vani and searching for the priest came to Kakaji's house. Kakaji was then very anxious to visit Baba and Shama went there to see him at that very time. What a wonderful coincidence is this! Kakaji asked him who he was and whence he had come, and on learning that he came from Shirdi, he at once embraced him. So overpowered was he with love. Then they talked about Sai Leelas, and after finishing the rites of Shama's vows, they both started for Shirdi. On reaching the place, Kakaji went to the masjid and fell at Baba's feet. His eyes were soon bedewed with tears, and his mind attained calmness. According to the vision of the goddess, no sooner did he see Baba that his mind lost all its restlessness and it became calm and composed. Kakaji began to think in his mind, what a wonderful power is this? Baba spoke nothing. There was no question and answer, no benediction pronounced. The mere darshana itself was so conducive to happiness. The restlessness of my mind disappeared by his mere darshan. Consciousness of joy came upon me. This is what is called the greatness of darshan. His vision was fixed on Sai's feet, and he could utter no word. Hearing Baba's Leelas, his joy knew no bounds. He surrendered himself completely to Baba, forgot his anxiety and cares, and got undiluted happiness. He lived happily there for 12 days, and after taking Baba's leave, Udi and blessings, returned home. Kushchal, Kushchal Chand of Rahata. It is said that a dream which we get in the small hours of morning generally comes out true in the waking state. This may be so, but regarding Baba's dreams, there is no restriction of time. To quote an instance, Baba told Kakasaheb Dikshit one afternoon to go to Rahata and fetch Kushchal Chand to Shirdi, as he had not seen him since long. Kakasaheb accordingly took a tonga and went to Rahata. He saw Kushchal Chand and gave him Baba's message. Hearing it, Kushchal Chand was surprised and said that he was taking a noon nap after meals when Baba appeared in his dream and asked him to come to Shirdi immediately and that he was anxious to go. And as he had no horse of his own nearby, he had sent his son to inform Baba. When his son was just out of the village border, Dikshit's tanga turned up. Dikshit then said that he was sent specially to bring him. Then they both went in Tonga back to Shirdi. Kushchal Chand saw Baba and all were pleased. Seeing this Leela of Baba, Kushchal Chand was much moved. Punjabi Ramlal of Bombay. Once, a Punjabi Brahmin of Bombay named Ramalal got a dream in which Baba appeared and asked him to come to Shirdi. Baba appeared to him as a Mahant or saint, but he did not know his whereabouts. He thought that he should go and see him, but as he knew not his address, he did not know what to do. But he who calls anybody for an interview makes the necessary arrangements for the same. The same happened in this case. The same afternoon, when he was strolling in the streets, he saw a picture of Baba in a shop. The features of the Mahant he saw in the dream exactly tallied with those of the picture. Then, making enquiries, he came to know that the picture was of Sai Baba of Shirdi. He then went soon after to Shirdi and stayed there till his death. In this way, Baba brought his devotees to Shirdi for darshan and satisfied their wants, material as well as spiritual. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be to all. Chapter 31. The passing away in Baba's presence of Sannyasi Vijayanand, Balaram Mankar, Nulkar, Megha, and the tiger. In this chapter, Hemant Pant describes the passing away of certain persons and a tiger in Baba's presence. Preliminary. The last wish or thought that a man has at the hour of death determines his future course. Sri Krishna has said in Gita, chapter 8, verses 5 and 6, that he who remembers me in his last moments comes verily to me, and he that meditates otherwise at the time goes to what he looks for. We cannot be certain that we can entertain a particular good thought at our last moment, for more often than not, we are more likely to be frightened and terrified by many causes. Hence, constant practice is necessary for enabling us to fix our mind on any desired good thought at any or the last moment. All saints, therefore, recommended us to always remember God and chant His name always, so that we may not be puzzled when the time for the departure comes. The devotees, on their part, surrender themselves completely to the saints, fully believing that the all-knowing saints would guide and help them in their last moments. A few such cases will be noted here. 1. Vijayanand. A Madrasi sannyasi named Vijayanand started on a pilgrimage to Manas Sarovar. En route, hearing Baba's fame, he halted at Shirdi. There he met one Somdevji Swami of Haridwar and inquired of him about the particulars of the Manas Sarovar trip. The Swami told him that the Sarovar was 500 miles above the Gangotri and described to him the difficulties of the journey vis-a-vis the plenty of snow and the change of dialect every 50 kilometers, I think, and the suspicious nature of people of Bhutan who give lots of trouble to the pilgrims on the way. Hearing this, the sannyasi was dejected and cancelled the trip. Then, when he went to Baba and prostrated himself before him, Baba got enraged and said, "Drive out this useless sannyasi. His company is of no use." The sannyasi did not know Baba's nature. He felt discomforted, but sat there watching things that were going on. It was the morning darbar and the masjid was overcrowded. Baba was being worshipped in various ways. Some were washing his feet, some taking the teeth holy water from his stove and drinking it heartily, and some touching their eyes with it. Some were applying the sandal paste and some scents to his body, and all were doing these things forgetting the distinction of caste and creed. Though Baba got enraged with him, he was filled with affection for Baba and he did not like to leave the place. He stayed in Shirdi for 2 days when he got a letter from Madras stating that his mother was very ill. He felt very dejected and wanted to be by his mother's side, but he could not leave without Baba's permission. So he saw Baba with a letter in his hand and asked for his permission to return home. The omniscient Baba, knowing the future, said to him, "If you so loved your mother, why did you take sannyasa? Fondness or attachment ill Fondness or attachment, ill becomes an ochre robe. Go and sit quiet at your lodging. Wait with patience for a few days. In the Vada, there are many robbers. Bolt your doors. Be very vigilant. The thieves will carry everything. Wealth and prosperity are transient, and the body is subject to decay and death. Knowing this, do your duty, leaving all attachment to the things of this world and the next. He who does this and surrenders himself to the feet of Hari, the Lord, will get free from all troubles and attain bliss. The Lord runs and helps him who remembers and meditates on him with love and affection. Your store of past merits is considerable, so you have come here. Now, attend to what I say and realize the end of your life. Being desireless, begin from tomorrow the study of Bhagavat. Do 3 saptahas, that is, 3 reading during 3 weeks, conscientiously. The Lord will be pleased with you and destroy your sorrows, your illusions, and your illusions will vanish and you will get peace. Seeing that his end was approaching, Baba prescribed that remedy and made him read Rama Vijaya, which pleases the god of death. Next morning, after after bathing and other purifying rites, he commenced to read Bhagavat in a secluded part in the Lendi garden. He completed 2 readings and thereafter felt much exhausted. He returned to the Wada and stayed in his lodging for 2 days, and on the third day he breathed his last on Fakir Bade Baba's lap. Baba asked the people to preserve the body for a day for a good reason. The police afterwards came and, on making proper inquiries, gave permission for the disposal of the body. It was buried in a proper place with due rites. In this way, Baba helped the sannyasi and ensured him Sadgati or salvation. Number 2, Balaram Mankar. There was a householder devotee of Baba by name Balaram Mankar. When his wife passed away, he got dejected and, entrusting his household to his son, left his home and came to Shirdi and lived with Baba. Being pleased with his devotion, Baba wanted to give a good turn to his life, and he did this in this wise. He gave him 12 rupees and asked him to go and live in Machindragad, the district Satara. Mankar was first unwilling to go and stay away from Baba, but Baba convinced him that he was giving the best course for him and asked him to practice meditation thrice a day on the Gada. On believing in Baba's words, Mankar came to the Gada. He was much pleased with the lovely sight of pure water, healthy air, and the surroundings of the place, and began to practice assiduously the meditations as recommended by Baba. After some days, he got a revelation. Generally, bhaktas get revelation in their samadhi or trance states, but in Mankar's case, he got it when he came down to his ordinary consciousness from his trance. Baba appeared to him in person. Not only that Mankar saw him, but also but he also asked him why he was sent here. Baba replied, in Shirdi, many thoughts and ideas began to rise in your mind, and I sent you here to rest your unsteady mind. You thought that I was in Shirdi with a body composed of 5 elements and 3.5 cubits in length, but not outside of it. Now you see and determine for yourself whether the person you see here now is the same you saw in Shirdi. It is for this reason that I sent you here. Then, after the period was over, Mankar left the Gada and proceeded to his native place, Bandra. He wanted to travel by rail from Pune to Dadar, but when he went to the booking office to get a ticket, he found it very much crowded. He could not get his ticket soon when a villager with langoti, a piece of cloth, on his waist and a kambali on his shoulder turned up and said, "Where are you going?" "To Dadar," replied Mankar. Then he said, "Please take this Dadar ticket of mine. As I have some urgent business here, I have cancelled my Dadar trip." Mankar was very glad to receive the ticket and was just taking out money from his pocket when the rustic disappeared in the crowd. Mankar tried to find him out in the crowd, but in vain. He waited for him till the train left the station, but he found no trace of him. This was the second revelation Mankar got in a strange form. The Mankar, after visiting his home, again returned to Shirdi and remained there at Baba's feet, always following his bidding and advice. In the end, he was very fortunate to leave this world in the presence and with the blessings of Baba. Number 3. Tatya Sahib Nulkar. Hemant Pant gives no particulars regarding Tatya Sahib Nulkar except the bare mention of the fact that he up his ghost in Shirdi. A brief summary of his account that appeared in the Sai Leela magazine is given here. Tatya Sahib was a sub-judge at Pandharpur in 1909 when Nana Sahib Chandorkar and Mamalad, Mamaladar was there. Oh, okay. When Nana Sahib Chandorkar was Mamaladar there. It's a post, it looks like. Both met often and exchanged talks. Tatya Sahib did not believe in saints, while Nana Sahib loved them. Nana Sahib often told him the Leelas of Sai Baba and pressed him to go to Shirdi and see Baba. He finally agreed to go and to Shirdi on two conditions. One, he must get a Brahmin cook, and two, he must get good Nagpur oranges for presentation. Both these conditions were providentially fulfilled. A Brahmin came to Nana Sahib for service, and he was sent to Tatya Sahib and a fruit parcel containing 100 beautiful oranges, and was received by Tatya Sahib, the consigner being not known. As the conditions were fulfilled, Tatya Sahib had to go to Shirdi. At first, Baba was much enraged with him, but by and by, Tatya Sahib got such experiences that he was convinced that Baba was God incarnate. So he was enamored of Baba and stayed there till his death. As his end was approaching, sacred literature was read out to him, and at this last hour, Baba's Paratirth was brought, and Padatirth, sorry, Baba's Padatirth, foot from his water, the water from his foot, was brought and given to him for drinking. Baba, on hearing his death, said, Tatya went ahead of us. He won't be reborn."
Thank you, Dhanashree Morris. We now have Sister Vasudha to continue.
Sai Ram. Vaishnavi, can you hear me properly?
Yes, Akka, all good.
Okay, thank you. Megha. The story of Megha has been already described in chapter 28. When Megha died, all the villagers followed the funeral procession. Baba also accompanied them and showered flowers on Megha's body. After the obsequies were performed, tears flowed from Baba's eyes, and like an ordinary mortal, Baba showed himself overcome with grief and sorrow. Then, covering the body with flowers and crying like a near relation, Baba returned to Masjid. Many saints have been seen giving Sadgati to men, but Baba's greatness is unique. Even a cruel animal like a tiger came to Baba's feet for being saved. It is this story which will be narrated now. Tiger. 7 days before Baba passed away, a wonderful incident occurred at Shirdi. There came a country cart and stopped in front of the masjid. A tiger was on the cart, fastened with iron chains, with its fierce face turned to the rear. It was suffering from some pain or agony. Its keepers, 3 Devarshis, were taking it from place to place and making money by exhibiting it. It was the means of their subsistence. They tried all sorts of remedies to cure it from the malady it was suffering from, but all was in vain. Then they heard of Baba's fame and came to him with the animal. They got it down the chains in their hands and made it stand at the door. It was naturally fierce, besides disease-ridden, so it was restless. The people began to look at it with fear and amazement. The Devarshis went in, told Baba everything about the animal, and with his consent brought it before him. As it approached the steps, it was taken aback on account of the luster of Baba and hung its head down. When both saw each other, it got on the step and looked at Baba with affection. Immediately it moved the tuft of its tail and dashed it thrice against the ground and then fell down senseless. On seeing it dead, the Devarshis were first much dejected and full of sorrow, but on mature thought, they came to their senses. They considered that as the animal was deceased and nearing its end, it was very meritorious on its part that it should meet its death at the feet and in the presence of Baba. It was their debtor, and when the debt was paid off, it was free and met its end at Sai's feet. When any creatures bow down their heads at saints' feet and meet death, they are saved. And unless they have got a good store of merit on their account, how could they get such a happy end? Bow to Sri Sai, peace to be all. In quest of Guru and God, fasting disapproved. In this chapter, Hemad Pant describes two things. One, how Baba met his Guru in the woods and through him God. And two, how Baba made one Mrs. Gokhale, who made up her mind to fast for 3 days, eat Puran Polis. Preliminary. In the beginning, Hemad Pant describes the samsara, visible world, by the allegory of Ashwadha, banyan tree, which has in the phraseology of Gita, roots above the branches below. Its branches are spread downwards and upwards and are nourished by the gunas, qualities, and its sprouts are the objects of the senses. Its roots leading to actions are extended downwards to this world of men. Its form cannot be known in this world, nor its end, its beginning, nor its support. Cutting this Ashwadha tree of strong roots with a sharp weapon of non-attachment, one should seek the path beyond, treading which there is no return. For traversing this path, the help of good guide, Guru, is absolutely necessary. However learned a man may be, or however deep his study of Vedas and Vedangas may be, he cannot go to his destination safely. If the guide be there to help him and show him the right way, he would avoid the pitfalls and the wild beasts on the journey, and everything will be smooth sailing. Baba's experience in this matter, the story which he gave out to himself, is really wonderful, which when attended to will give you faith, devotion, and salvation. The quest. Once, 4 of us were studying religious scriptures and other books, and being thus enlightened, we began to discuss the nature of the Brahman. One of us said that we should raise the self by the self, not depend on others. To this, the second replied that he who controls his mind is blessed. We should be free from thoughts and ideas, and there is nothing in the world without us. The third said that the world phenomenon is always changing. The formless is eternal. So we should discriminate between the unreal and the real. And the fourth, Baba himself, urged that bookish knowledge is worthless, and added, let us do our prescribed duty and surrender our body, mind, and 5 pranas to the Guru's feet. Guru is God, all-pervading. To get this conviction strong, unbounded faith is necessary. Discussing in this wise, we 4 learned men began to ramble through the woods in the quest of God. The 3 wanted to make the quest with their free and unaided intellect. On the way, a Vanjari, a man who trades in certain things such as grain, etc., by carrying them on a bullock, met us and asked, it is hot now. Where and how far are you going? To such the woods, we replied. He inquired, on what quest are you bound? We gave him an ambiguous and evasive reply. Seeing us rambling aimlessly, he was moved and said, without knowing the woods fully, you should not wander at random. If you want to walk through forests and jungles, you should take a guide with you. Why do you exert yourselves unnecessarily at this sultry noontime? You may not give out to me your secret quest. Still you can sit down, eat bread, drink water, take rest, and then go. Be always patient at heart. Though he spoke so tenderly, we discarded his request and marched on. We thought that we were self-contained men and needed nobody's help. The woods were vast and trackless. The trees therein grew so close and tall that the sun's rays could not penetrate through them. So we lost our way and wandered here and there for a long time. Ultimately, through sheer good luck, we came back to the place from where we started. The Vanjari met us again and said, relying on your own cleverness, you missed your way. A guide is always necessary to show us the right way in small or great matters. And no quest can be successful carried out on an empty stomach unless God wills it. No one meets us on the way. Do not discard offers of food served dish. Discard offers of food served dish should not be thrust away. Offers of bread and food should be regarded as auspicious signs of success. Saying this, he again offered us food and asked us to be calm and patient. Again, we did not like this good hospitality and discarded his offer and went away. Without doing any quest and without taking any food, the three began to move out. So obstinate were they. I was hungry and thirsty, and I was moved with the Vanjari's extraordinary love. We thought ourselves very learned, but were quite strangers to pity and kindness. The Vanjari was a quite illiterate and unqualified fellow, and belonged to a low caste. Still, he had love in his heart and asked us to eat the bread. In this way, he who loves other disinterestedly is real enlightened. He who loves other disinterestedly is really enlightened. And I thought acceptance of his hospitality was the best beginning of getting knowledge. So very respectfully, I accepted the loaf of bread offered, ate it, and drank water. Then the Guru at once came and stood before us. What was the dispute about? He asked. And I told him everything that had happened. Then he said, would you like to come with me? I will show you what you want. But he alone who believes in what I say will be successful. The others did not agree to what he said and left him. But I bowed to him reverently and accepted his dictum. Then he took me to a well, tied my feet with a rope, and hung me, head downwards and feet up, from a tree near the well. I was suspended 3 feet above the water, which I could not reach with my hands, nor which could go into my mouth. Suspending me in this manner, he went away, no one knew where. After 10 or 12 ghatakas, which is 4 or 5 hours, he returned and taking me out quickly, asked me how I fared. In bliss supreme I was. How can a fool like me describe the joy I experienced? I replied. On hearing my answer, the Guru was much pleased with me, drew me near him, and stroking my body with his hand, kept me with him. He took care of me as tenderly as a mother bird does of her younger ones. He put me into his school. How beautiful it was. There I forgot my parents. All my attachment was snapped, and I was liberated easily. I thought that I should embrace his neck and remain staring at him always. If his image were not fixed in my pupils, I would like better to be blind. Such was the school. No one who entered it once could return empty-handed. My Guru became my all in all, my home and property, mother and father, everything. All my senses left their places and concentrated themselves in my eyes. And my sight was centered on him. Thus was my Guru, the sole object of my meditation, and I was conscious of none else. While meditating on him, my mind and intellect were stunned, and I had thus to keep quiet and bow to him in silence. There are other schools where you see an altogether different spectacle. The disciples go there to seek knowledge and spend their money, time, and labor, but ultimately they have to repent. The Guru there boasts of his secret knowledge and his straightforward. He makes a show of his sacredness and holiness, but he is not tender at heart. He speaks a lot and sings his own glory, but his own words do not touch the disciple's heart. and they are not convinced. So far as self-realization is concerned, he has none. How can such schools be of any use to disciples, and how can they be benefited? The master guru mentioned above was of different type. By his grace, realization flashed upon me of itself, without effort or study. I had not to seek anything, but everything became clear to me as broad daylight. The Guru alone knows how to topsy-turvy suspension, with head down and feet up, can give happiness. Among the four, one was karmat, ritualistic, karmata, ritualistic, who only knew how to observe and abstain from certain rites. The second was a jnani, who was puffed up with pride of knowledge. And third was a bhakta, who surrendered himself completely to God, believing that he was the sole doer. When they were discussing and arguing, the question of God turned up, and they, depending on their unaided knowledge, went in search of him. Sai, who was discrimination and dispassion incarnate, was one of the four. Being himself Brahman incarnate, some may ask, why did he mix with them and act foolishly? He did this for attaining the good of the public and setting them an example to follow. Though an incarnation himself, he respected the low Vanjari by accepting his food with the firm belief that food is Brahman, and showed how those who reject Vanjari's hospitable offer suffered, and how it was impossible to get jnana without a guru. The Shruti, Taittiriya Upanishad, exhorts us to honor and worship mother, father, and preceptor, and to study the sacred scriptures. These are the means of purifying our minds, and unless this purification is effected, self-realization is not possible. Neither the senses nor the mind and intellect reach the self. Modes of proof, such as perception and interference, will not help us in this matter. It is the grace of the Guru that counts. The objects of our life, such as dharma, artha, and kama, are attainable with our effort. But the fourth object, moksha, liberation, can only he had with the help of the Guru. In the darbar of Sri Sai, many personalities appear and play their part. Astrologers come and give out their predictions. Princes, noblemen, ordinary and poor men, sannyasis, yogis, songsters, and others come for darshan. Even a mahar comes and, making a johar, his salutations, says, "This Sai is the my Bap, true parents." Who will do away with our rounds of births and deaths? So many others, such as jugglers, gondhalis, the blind and the lame, Nath Panthis, dancers, and other players, come and are given suitable reception. Biding his own time, the Vanjari also appeared and played the past assigned to him. Let us now revert to the other story, fasting and Mrs. Gokhale. Baba never fasted himself, nor did he allow others to do so. The mind of the faster is never at ease. Then how can he attain his paramartha, goal of life? God is not attained on an empty stomach. First, the soul has to be appeased. If there is no moisture of food in the stomach and the nutrition, with what eyes should we see God? With what tongue should we describe his greatness? And with what ears should we hear the same? In short, when all our organs get their proper nutrition and are sound, we can practice devotion and other sadhanas to attain God. Therefore, neither fasting nor overeating is good. Moderation in diet is really wholesome both to body and mind. Once Mrs. Gokhale came to Shirdi with an introductory letter from Mrs. Kashibai Kanitkar, a devotee of Baba, to Dada Kelkar. She came to Baba with a determination to sit at Baba's feet observing a 3 days fast. The day previous, Baba said to Dada Kelkar that he would not allow his children to starve during the Shimga, that is holy holidays, and that if they had to starve, why was he there? Next day, when the woman went with Dada Kelkar and sat at Baba's feet, Baba at once said to her, "Where is the necessity of fasting? Go to Dada Bhatt's house, prepare the dish for Puran Polis, wheat rotis with grain flour and jaggery. Feed his children and yourself too." Shimga holidays were on. Mrs. Kelkar was then in her menses, and there was nobody to cook in Dada Bhatt's house. So Baba's advice was very timely. Then Mrs. Gokhale had to go to Dada Bhatt's house and prepare the dish as directed. She cooked that day, fed others and herself. What a good story, and how beautiful its import. Baba Sirkar. Baba gave a story of his boyhood as follows. When I was youngster, I was in search of bread and went to Beadgaum. There I got embroidery work. I worked hard, sparing no pains. The employer was very much pleased with me. 3 other boys worked before me. The first got 50 rupees, the second got 100 rupees, and the third got 150 rupees. And I was given twice the whole of this amount, which is 600 rupees. After seeing my cleverness, the employer loved me, praised me, and honored me with a full dress, a turban for the head, and a shell for a body, etc. I kept this dress intact without using it. I thought that what a man might give does not last long, and it is always imperfect. But what my Sarkar gives, God gives, lasts to end of time. No other gift from any man can be compared to his. My Sarkar says, take, but everybody comes to me and says, give. Nobody attends carefully to the meaning of what I say. My Sarkar's treasury, spiritual wealth, is full. It is overflowing. I say, dig out and take away this wealth in cartloads. The blessed son of a true mother should fill himself with this wealth. The skill of Fakir, the Leela of my Bhagwan, the aptitude of my Sarkar is quite unique. What about me? Body will mix with earth, breath with air. This time won't come again. I go somewhere, sit somewhere. The hard Maya troubles me much. Still, I feel always anxiety for my men. He who does anything, spiritual endeavor, will reap its fruit. And he who remembers these words of mine will get invaluable happiness. Bow to Sri Sai, peace to be all. Greatness of Udi. Scorpion sting and plague cases cured. Jamnir miracle. Narayan Rao's sickness. Balabu Sutar. Appa Sahib Kulkarni. Haribhao Karnik. In the last chapter, we described the greatness of the Guru. Now in this, we will describe the greatness of Udi. Preliminary. Let us bow now before the great saints. Their merciful glances will destroy mountains of sins and do away with all the evil taints of our character. Their casual talk gives us good teachings and confers on us imperishable happiness. Their minds do not know any difference, such as this is ours and that is yours. Such differentiation never arises in their minds. Their debts, obligations will never be repaid by us in this birth as well as in many future births. Udi. It is well known that Baba took dakshina from all, and out of the amount thus collected, he spent a lot on charity and purchased fuel with the balance left with him. This fuel he threw in the dhuni, the sacred fire, which he kept ever burning. The ash from this fire was called Udi, and it was freely distributed to the devotees at the time of their departure from Shirdi. What did Baba teach or hint by this Udi? Baba taught by his Udi that all the visible phenomena in the universe are as transient as the ash. Our bodies composed of wood or matter of the 5 elements will fall down. After all their enjoyments are over, and be reduced to ashes. In order to remind the devotees of the fact that their bodies will be reduced to ashes, Baba distributed Udi to them. Baba also taught by the Udi that the Brahman is the only reality and the universe is emperor, and that no one in this world, be as a son, father, or wife, is really ours. We come here alone and we have to go out alone. It was found and is even now found out that the Udi cured many physical and mental maladies. But Baba wanted to din into the devotees' ears the principles of discrimination between the unreal and the real, non-attachment for the unreal, and by his Udi and Dakshina. The former Udi taught us discrimination and the latter Dakshina taught us non-attachment. Unless we have these two things, it is not possible for us to cross over the sea of mundane existence. So Baba asked for and took Dakshina, and while the devotees took leave, he gave Udi as prasad, besmeared some of it on the bhaktas' foreheads, and placed his boon conferring hand on their heads. When Baba was in a cheerful mood, he used to sing merrily. One such song was about Udi. The burden of the Udi song was this: O playful Rama, come, come, and bring with you sacks of Udi. Baba used to sing in very clear and sweet tones. So much about the spiritual implication of Udi. It had also its material significance. It conferred health, prosperity, freedom from anxiety, and many other worldly gains. So the Udi has helped us to gain both our ends, material as well as spiritual. We shall now begin with stories about Udi. Scorpion sting. Narayana Motiram Jani of Nasik, Narayan Motiram, Jnani of Nasik, was a devotee of Baba. He was serving under another devotee of Baba by name Ramachandra Vaman Modak. Once he went to Shirdi with his mother and saw Baba. Then Baba himself told her that he should serve no more, but start independent business. Some days after this prophecy turned true, Narayan Jani left services and started a boarding house, Anandashram, which thrived well. Once a friend of this Narayan Rao was stung by a scorpion, and the pain caused by it was severe and unbearable. Udi is most efficacious in such cases. It is to be applied on the seat of pain, and so Narayan Rao searched for it, but found none. Then he stood before Baba's picture and invoked Baba's aid, chanted Baba's name, taking out a pinch of the ashes of the joss stick burning in front of Baba's picture, and thinking it to be Baba's Udi, applied it on the seat of pain and the sting. As soon as he took out his fingers, the pain vanished, and both the persons were moved and felt delighted.
Saramukha, thank you for reading. We shall now close with the closing prayers. Saishwaraya Vidmahi Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Saishwaraya Vidmahi Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Saishwaraya Vidmahi Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shri Sai Ram. Thank you all for joining. See you tomorrow.